also, you have to remember that when you're out of sync with your garden, and this is very, very important, probably the most important thing, when you're out of sync with the motion that's going on in your garden, it's hard to catch up again. It's hard to stay on top of things. Your garden is moving and you're moving in the opposite direction. So what happens is you're losing control, you're losing the foresight of what you need to do. So it's really important to understand the motion that's going on in your garden. Do I need to protect my trees from wind, whatever it may be? Do I have to prune certain plants back completely because they're overtaking? If you can get into that motion and stay with your garden, and it requires time. People have opposite schedules, so their business is busy in the spring, and the garden needs them the most in the spring, for example. So there's this disconnect that you have to play as a gardener. You have to play that very well, and not getting trapped in this idea where the garden's always ahead of you. Like, it's nice to be in sync with the garden and understanding what's needed at what time. When you have a living garden, you have to get excited about it, because the garden is telling you, this is what I need, this is what I need, do this, do that, help me here, help me there, I need more water, I need less water. So you pay attention to your garden, and the visuals are everywhere. You can see them everywhere. You have to look at gardening as a process of something that is in motion. You might consider the seasons the changing element that makes something in motion. You might consider crop rotation. You might consider that you have to rework a bed. You might consider harvest time. There's always something going on in the garden that requires you to be flexible. Why I want to talk about that is because you can use that to your advantage. Your garden will give you all kinds of signs. So something is not doing well, or something froze in the winter, or something didn't produce any fruit, or whatever it may be. So that motion is a voice. It's telling you next year you need to protect your garden a lot more with leaves, or you need to plant certain crops together so they help each other to prevent the bugs. Move some plants from this location that's too shady into the sun. You need areas that are too wet. You need to move plants out of areas that are too wet and move them up into a drier area. Your succulents didn't do well. They kind of rotted on the stem because the soil is too rich and it doesn't have enough sand in it. So what I'm talking about is you have to be incredibly observant all the time in your garden. And you have to sort of be a little bit of a detective. You have to say, okay, my strawberries are not producing any fruit. Why? Maybe it's too wet, or maybe they're not getting enough sunshine, or whatever it may be. So you, as the gardener, are the kingpin. You're the person that will adapt, change, move. So you need to be in motion as much as your garden is in motion. In Ecuador, we don't have any seasons. Every single day is identical. It's like the groundhog effect. We have 19, 20, and 21 degrees. I have not experienced any other different weather in 3 years. We don't have the weather changing everything, but I'll tell you, the garden has all kinds of activity going on. Right now we have so many white butterflies all over the place, and they're probably laying eggs on the cabbage or whatever. And so you got to be observant. You got to watch what's going on. You got to see how the animals are behaving, what they're doing, what the weeds are doing. So for example, we have this jumping weed, so you touch it and the seeds jump off. We try our best to grab those seeds before they blow up and spread the seeds around. Many things you have to observe all the time. We have certain plants that are taking over. We have certain plants that are squeezing out other plants. We have plants that are climbing up walls that we want to emphasize. We want to move them to the walls. We have certain plants that need to be divided. We have so much going on that we basically have to plan to control that motion. And controlling motion in a garden is about observation. There's lots of little tricks, there's lots of little things you can do. One of the things we like to keep in motion is that we want to have our entire earth covered with something as best as we can.
We always use cover crops to improve our soil. Our soils are covered the best we can, and these get tilled into the ground to make new soil.
Fruits that we need to harvest. And that really helps in controlling the motion, and that makes gardening so exciting that there's never a dull day and never something that doesn't need to be done to keep that forward motion going in the right direction.